Hi, I'm Nate, and I have another learning video just for you. So let's get started.
We are going to be working with Access 2010 in this video to be able to show how to add a lookup wizard to a table. Here's the issue. If we have a table, in this case, customer table, I want to go into the design view, so I want to go behind the scenes. So I'm going to right click, click on design view. It'll give me the list of current attributes, and in it I can see that I've started to add information about the address, like the customer zip, but I have not added all of the components. One of the components of an address would be the customer state. People might consider it to be a text data type, which it would be if we're adding things like Oklahoma, Indiana, whatever. Now, the issue is, if we are putting in the actual state, we have to make a decision as to, do we want the state abbreviation or do we want the full state? And we might actually want both. So if we are putting in the customer state, we're putting in Pennsylvania, Connecticut. Some of those are a little bit more difficult to spell, and for data entry issues, we want to minimize the errors because we want to do a query later on. We want to ask questions of the database. We may want to say, list all the customers from Ohio. Well, the data entry person who's typing in, those are easy to handle. But if we have common errors, spelling errors for Connecticut or Wisconsin, we want to add a lookup table that will allow a drop down to be created so that we don't have spelling errors. We reduce the chances of garbage in. Garbage in means garbage out. So we want to add controls to our database. So on here, I'm going to come into cust state, and I'm going to go clear down to the lookup wizard, and it's going to bring up a wizard. And here it says I want the lookup field to get the values from another table or a query, or I'll type in the values that I want. Well, I could actually do that. This is a simple way if I only have a few values. So I could say next, and in here I could say, well, number of columns, and I could put in something basic. You know, I could say, oh, well, currently for our sales we're only in Oklahoma, and then I'm going to hit the tab key. I'm not going to hit enter, I'm going to hit the tab key, and that will take me down, and I can enter several options: Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska. And then I can say next. And what do we want to use for our lookup field? Cust state, that looks good. Do I want to limit it to the list? Do I want to allow them to add other things? Let's say we want to limit it to the list currently. That's going to limit it to, you have to choose from the list. And do I want to store multiple values? No, I just want to store one. And I'm going to say finish. And it's still going to come up as a text field, but let's take a look. Let's save it. And then let's look at it from the front. And now, if I scroll over to the state, now I get a drop down, and it's going to give me Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska. It's going to allow us to do a drop down. If I need to modify that, I need to come over here. It says text. I need to come down to the properties area right here where it says lookup, and notice it'll say Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska. So it is showing those components. If I need to add a new one, I can put in a semicolon, that's what's in between, and then I could add another Utah, quotes around it, and then I can come back. I'm going to save this. Let's look at it by going back over. I saved it. I go back over to state. And when I click, now Utah's in there. So you can add it. With states, that can become kind of cumbersome. So the first way to do a lookup wizard is to actually add the components. And if you were doing something like cash, credit, where it's what's the payment type, then I could see where I might want to just type them in. But more often our list is going to be longer, and I don't want to have to go behind the scenes necessarily to update that. So let's do it a second way. What I'm going to do is come over and I'm going to quickly say create table, and I'm going to go to the design view, and I'm going to call this the state list. And in it, I'm going to say state abbreviation, and I'm going to make that 2, the width of 2, and then here I'm going to actually put state name, and that I can actually pop down to 75 so that I don't waste space. And I'm going to save that, and now I can come in and do abbreviation and OK Oklahoma, and I can add a few of the initial states that we're working with. So I've added 4 states here, and I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to come back over to customer. My state list is the list that we're now going to look up, so I'm going to close it so it's out of the way. Customer, I'm going to come over to it, come over to the Home tab, and I want to go back into Design View. And I'm going to leave this one as it is so that we've got the example here so we can see it. Now I'm just going to add a second one so that we'll be able to compare. So I'm going to say state, cust state. I'm going to say this is number 2. And it's still going to be a text. And this time I'm going to go in and we're going to do a Lookup Wizard. And this time we do want to say, I want the lookup to get values from another table. From this table, the state list. So I'm going to say next. I'm going to choose the state list. That's the table that I want. I could use queries, but right now we're going to use a table. And in here, what fields do I want the person to see in the drop-down? Well, if I just put the abbreviation ME, is that Maryland or is it Massachusetts or Maine? No, that's MA. No, MA is Massachusetts. I don't know. So abbreviations, some people don't know their abbreviations. If I put the state name, then that's going to be better, but I want to be able to store the abbreviation. What am I going to store? What am I going to keep? I'm going to show both of the fields so that people that are looking at the drop-down can choose from either. And then what I want to do is I want to show it as the state name in ascending order. And then from there, this is actually saying hide the key column, which they recommend, but that means it's not going to show everything. I actually want it to show both. So I'm going to say, I'm going to uncheck that so that it shows the primary key, the key value is what they're talking about. It's going to show that, and it's going to show the state name, which I want it to do. I want it to see both. Now in here, I can actually resize the columns as needed. And the state name might actually be a longer one. The state abbreviation, I'm going to do that. Length, next. Available fields. When you select it, you can store either of the values in my database. I'm going to store the abbreviation. I'm going to store the smaller number in this case. So I'm going to say next. And what do I want for the label for my lookup field? And I'm going to go cust state 2 for now. And it's going to say, do you want to enable data integrity? Yeah, I do actually want to enable. And I'm going to leave the restrict delete for now. I could go with cascade delete, so if I delete the record, it's going to delete any of the associated records with it. But right now I'm going to leave it as restrict. Do I want to store multiple values for this lookup? No, I'm going to leave those the same. And I'm going to say finish. Table must be saved. Yeah, save it now. And it has now created in cust state 2 a drop down. Let's go take a look at it. I'm going to come over. Now on this one, when I come in, it's now showing me both. So you can see that the columns have been changed accordingly. And I can come in and it will keep the OK even though when I see UT, it'll tell me, oh, that's Utah. So it eliminates the issue of I don't know what the abbreviation is, or I don't know what the state is when I see a certain abbreviation, either way. And now I can come back to state, and in here I can add a new record. So I've added Indiana. I'm going to close that. When I come into here, it's not going to automatically refresh, but if I close that, open it, swing over, there's Indiana, and it is still sorted. It automatically sorts. My other one here, it's going to be in the order that I typed it in the actual description. So if I actually come back, come into Design View, in the first one, I've added it. The lookup is right here, and it will not sort. It's automatically putting this in. If I come to this one in the lookup, now it's giving me a query, and it's giving me this, and I'm not going to mess with that too much. Here it'll show me that my two columns, one is 1.25 inches, the other one is 1.6563 inches. I can change the column width right here. It's allowing me to change some of the components here with the lookup value. So I can actually make a few modifications here. For now, all we need to know is that it's connected to state list. I do want to show you very quickly. If you screw up a drop down that's to a table, and you're going, wait, I just created to the wrong thing, I got to make changes. Let's figure out how do we make a change. If I come in to the database tools, let me close this again. If I come into relationships, it's showing me that a one-to-many has been created between the customer state and the state abbreviation over here. So it's coming in and it's pulling in this state list. If I want to make changes to this field in customer, before I can change this field, I have to break this relationship. Alright? Let me cover this again. In here, if I try to come in, all I tried to do is change the field width. You cannot change the data type or the field size of this field. It's part of a relationship. So if you have a relationship between two tables, that relationship is linking two fields. With a relationship, you have to break that. So it will not let me make changes to this field unless I break this relationship. To break the relationship, I click on it. You got to be very precise with your mouse. Right click, delete. Are you sure you want to permanently delete the relationship? Yep. Oh, I can't. Another error message. Why? The database engine could not lock the customer because it's already in use by another person. Another person? That's me. Customer table is locked. Yeah. The customer table, I'm going to say okay. The customer table is currently locked because I'm editing it right here. I need to close it. Do you want to save the changes? No. I need to come in here. I need to delete the relationship, close that, save that it's closed, that it has been deleted, and then I can come back to here and I can go into Design View, and now if I needed to, I could change that relation. I can change this field however I want, then reestablish. I could come back in and I need to just do the Lookup Wizard again. Yep, I want it from another table. Want it from the state list. Both fields. Let's do it ascending by state name. I want both. I want to keep the abbreviation. I'm going to name it the same. I'm going to enable data integrity. And I'm going to finish. Must be saved. Yep. Now you can go back in and establish it. So if, go back to relationships, now it's created again. So this is actually created for the Lookup Wizard. Actually creates a relationship right here. And I've established that this table will be seen, and I'm going to pull from this table to populate the customer state. It allows me to come into the state table and add, modify, delete the states and abbreviation as needed. This is also pretty handy with like a state list. I could quickly import the abbreviations and the state names, and I've got it populated so that now my data entry people can come in and quickly grab the state name and never misspell it. This is Nate signing off. Hope you're having a good day.